What motivated me to become an entrepreneur, and what was my first business? So after 15 years of teaching, and I taught everything from elementary, junior high, high school, college, university, graduate studies at UBC. And my master's is in counseling psychology with a teaching degree, and then a master's in counseling psychology. So I was a counselor, and as a counselor, high school students that were coming in and saying, oh my gosh, I have to decide on a career. Women who were returning to the workforce after raising their kids and trying to get back into it. Career changers, people that were getting laid off and needing to look at what can I do now. People in retirement that were saying, I'm not ready to retire. What else is there? I realized that after 15 years that I was a closet entrepreneur too. And so I had a very great job at Douglas College, making $68,000 a year. And I just said, I'm tired, I want to quit. And people said, Mowat, get a brain. And I went, I'm going to quit. Because at that time, I thought, I'll get work consulting. I wanted to get into human resources. So I live in Abbotsford, and I had been commuting every day to both UBC, Douglas College. That's over an hour, 2-hour drive. The whole idea of me wanting to start my own business was to get some free time. So when I tried to set up and become legal, I realized that home-based businesses were not allowed. You have to understand, this was 1986. So I had to do what everybody else was doing. There were a lot of people that were working out of their homes, and they were all faced with the same bylaws that did not allow them to operate. And it was like, well, something's got to be done here. So at that point, I just became a champion for home-based business. It was like, okay, we got to do something. So I started very small by putting together the very first newsletter on home-based business, newsletter for BC, which grew into Alberta home-based business newsletter, Ontario, and then became Canada, then it became a national magazine. This is an important part. I had quit the college, and one of the first things that I was asked to do by the government of BC is to create what is called the Home-Based Business Manual. How to start a home-based business, how to market your business. So that led to the newsletter, to the magazine, but then it also led to the fact that they needed an advocate. So I became not only a champion of home-based businesses, but I started to look at ways in which we can create associations. There were two people in the States, one in Naperville, Illinois. Her name is Barbara Breivik, and she had an association, and another woman, Joanne, in Texas, who actually was believing that telecommunication was the way to go. So I got together, and then in 1992, I championed the very first study on the nature and extent of home-based businesses in Canada. Believe it or not, this name is now famous because she's in Telford University, Carleton, is Barbara Orser. I happen to have the study we did. So Federation of Canadian Municipalities asked me to chair a cross-Canada research study. I hired Barbara Orser, and to this day she says, yours was the very first study I ever did, research study and paper I did. Beautiful. We did another one called, to make it short, because no one's going to read the big one, even though you can get it still in the library. We did one that was just Home Business, the New Reality. This came out in 1991, right? Somebody heard me talk about the value of home-based businesses and how they were contributing to the economy. Now, a lot has changed. We're now legal to work out of our home offices. In fact, we're being demanded to work out of our own offices. Another thing that the province of BC asked me to write, and I co-authored this with a colleague, Ted James, Tips for Tough Times. And in that was a series of helpful hints to try to help home-based businesses, but all small businesses. It wasn't just home-based. It was like, how do we help them? So what am I doing in Grow Your Biz is that as of today, I sent out what I created called Tips for Tough Times, our weekly digest. It's not only going to be for Grow Your Biz members, because we want to say, let's share with you the tips that we learned over the years, because there's history, there's continuity that we can share with you. This is what worked. This is what didn't work. I believe still to this day, you can hire people to do your financials. It's all about relationships. So whenever I talk about what's the most valuable skill that a business can have, it's about relationship marketing. And when we had to disguise that we were not a home-based business, but an official business, right? That's how we used to have to phrase ourselves. But now it's so accepted, right? Back then, it was like you disguised being in your home. And that's what I felt I had to change. I opened my home, I became legal, I bought commercial space, but now I've gone home-based to commercial, back to home-based. So it is interesting, right? It's like full circle. What suits you? So my advice is, first of all, what do you have to do to create a home-based business that's going to be viable, that's going to give you, communicate with your family, first of all, right? Communicate with your family, set it up properly, get the business licenses that you need if the community requires it, and be professional.